Today's Advent reading is from Luke chapter 1, verses 41 to 44, and it describes the encounter between Mary and her cousin Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leapt inside her, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Then she exclaimed with a loud cry, "Blessed are you among women, and your child will be blessed. How could this happen to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For you see, when the sound of your greeting reached my ears, Mary, the baby inside me leapt for joy." And today we're calling out joy as the word for today from this verse. Joy, one of the great themes of Christmas, and one of the great themes for those of us who believe and know Jesus. Elizabeth's joy, as we read in these verses, is the first of several mentions of joy throughout the Christmas story. And we'll look at it again on some other days as well as today. But this is the first mention. And it's really significant for two reasons. Firstly, in terms of the story, it means that things are finally on the move. Things are hotting up. Prior to this moment, the various scenes in the Christmas narrative have been confusing, puzzling, even disturbing. Up to now, we've had angels suddenly appearing, people like Zechariah or Joseph unsure or unwilling to receive difficult news. We've had a young teenage bride-to-be coming to terms with unexpected pregnancy and coming to terms with possible social ostracization. But now, the events that will make Christmas real are underway. Elizabeth is carrying the baby who will become John the Baptist. Mary is carrying the baby Jesus. And when these two come together, there is something like a burst of joy that comes into the story for the first time. And this is a sign that the story, as it unfolds, will be about bringing joy. Not just the joy of birth to two expectant mums, but a joy that will radiate out from the life of Jesus and eventually embrace the whole world. And this joy is also significant because it is brought to Elizabeth by means of a participant in the Christmas story that we sometimes lose sight of, the Spirit of God himself. As it says in the verses that we read, when the baby leapt inside her, Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. This was a special privilege for her, but it's also an encouragement to us, a reminder that the Spirit's joy can come to us too. In fact, we are promised that joy will be one of the fruits of the indwelling Spirit that Jesus himself would later send. As Christians, our joy is not like anything you can get from anywhere else. The writer G.K. Chesterton once said that outside of Christ, life's central theme is suffering, and that joy is at best peripheral. But with Christ, joy becomes the central theme to life, and it becomes suffering that is peripheral. And what did he mean by that? Well, what he was thinking was that in Jesus, the story of humanity, God's story, the story of God's people, is destined to be one of eternal joy. There may be suffering along the way, but joy is where the story is destined to end. So the joys brought to Mary and Elizabeth point us to a much deeper joy that is part of God's promise to us. So, as we continue to go through the Advent season, let us remember that we can draw upon that joy that comes from knowing that the first Christmas is only the start of a longer-term plan. A plan that will one day see Christ return and see God dwelling with his people. Then we will all know joy in its fullness. Not the transient joys that come to us from time to time, wonderful though they may be, but a deep and everlasting joy, one that will remain. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.